In the first hours after the collision, Titanic took on hundreds of tons of water per minute. Did this added weight begin to tear the ship to pieces? Magellan helps investigators look for signs of damage in the hull caused by flooding. Along a region known as the well deck, the team spots a series of cracks.
So we're looking at a significant crack in way of the aft end of the well deck region on the starboard side.
They believe the cracks were formed as the bow sinks deeper into the water. As the stern rises, the stress increases throughout the vessel. Today, investigators find clear signs of that enormous tension on the wreck. This opening is known as an expansion joint. It was designed to relieve tension in the upper decks. The separation should only be inches wide. Now, it's several feet across. The night of the disaster, the joint is pulled open, causing the forward funnel to topple into the water. Next, the team surveys the break area itself, and the devastation is dramatic. How did flooding lead to such destruction?
The breaking up of the Titanic looks like it was a slow process. Not like bringing down a building where you plant all this dynamite and boom, and it all collapses down the middle. A ship breaking up is not a pretty sight. It's a very slow, agonizing death to a very large piece of machinery.
It would be great to get images from this side and from the other side.
To model the final moments of the breakup, investigators will build a virtual Titanic, where they can simulate the flooding to see what happens.
This is a very clean, very straight fracture line, too.
At the naval architectural firm Gibbs & Cox, investigators build a computer model of the Titanic to reconstruct the breakup. Bob Silsky is one of the structural engineers. He wants to see how flooding affects a specific part of the break area known as the ship's aft expansion joint.
We started with a basic analysis of the ship, knowing, of course, that the weakest area would be at the expansion joints in the deck, and that's where we zeroed in on our stress analysis.
Silsky's model also accounts for the strength of Titanic steel, which we now know from the steel test. To begin the process, the bow is slowly flooded. With forward compartments full of water, the model changes from purple to blue, indicating that the stresses are increasing on the ship's hull. With 6 compartments filled, the model is transformed again. Red regions indicate the areas of highest stress. More than 65,000 pounds per square inch are exerted on the expansion joint. This is more than Titanic's steel can handle. And the great liner begins to break near the expansion joint and third funnel. Silsky's results have some startling implications. First, on the night of the disaster, many Titanic survivors testified that the stern rose nearly perpendicular during the sinking. But according to the new model, that would have been impossible. The stern never rose more than 12 degrees before the ship broke.
We know from our analysis that the ship didn't trim by about more than 12 degrees, and at that point the stresses became very high in the midships area. That's when it would have broken.
The model also suggests a clear sequence of the ship's destruction. Titanic broke from the upper decks first. Her bottom failed last. This scenario suggests a provocative new idea. After Titanic's midsection crumbles, could the bow and stern still be connected? Did a large section of hull bottom hold the ship together for a brief period underwater? To investigate this theory, researchers need to find this missing link that connected Titanic's bow and stern. Back at the site, the search is on for the phantom piece of hull.
Start to sink here.
Former French Navy commander P.H. Najolet believes he saw the large hull section more than a decade ago. He thinks it might be in an area of debris some distance from the stern.
I think that it's my position.
Najolet, however, is not exactly certain of its coordinates. Previous attempts to find it have failed.
On this map, here is the bow section, here is the stern section. I don't remember if it was in 94 or 96. We tried to see again this piece, and we don't find it.
There are intakes on this piece here.
I think maybe I was dreaming, you know. Maybe it's a dream. 37.
If investigators can find the missing piece that held the bow and stern together, it will be one of the most intriguing discoveries of the expedition.
The bulkhead right in here.
The piece could help them reconstruct when and how the bow and stern actually separated.
Here, after is the hand of the...
To find the piece, Magellan sweeps the outermost portion of the stern wreckage, working inward to the stern itself. The team begins its search late at night, embarking on a lonely trek across the debris field.
Yeah, we're gonna move straight ahead. There's some stuff up here.
Sounds cool. I understand you're moving out of 320.
Yeah.
Roger that, thank you.
Some small stuff right here. About 290.
Just before dawn, the team is down to a skeleton crew. The bridge is quiet. The Magellan pilots guide the ROV closer and closer to the stern wreckage. Suddenly, out of the darkness,